Hello and good evening, everyone. My name is Ali Mezer, and today I will be talking about a very controversial topic that tends to come up usually every single year. College sports come around, and this problem hasn't been solved, um, and we haven't seen any progress that's being made towards solving this issue, which is just making it worse and worse. And we've come to a point where if this issue is not addressed, the NCAA could potentially be losing um, a lot of money. So I just wanted to kind of give you a little preview on the estimated athletic college revenue. So according to the NCAA.com, the total revenue generated among all college athletics yearly is $1 billion, and this statement was in 2019. I do have a figure showing you the athletic department revenue versus scholarship expenses, and these are your 10 largest revenues. In 2014, the athletic department reported 144 million in revenue, compared to only 12 million were invested back into the athletic scholarships and expenses. As you can see, the difference in these numbers is just crazy. The amount of revenue that's being brought in compared to the amount of money that's being invested back into the athletic department, as well as scholarships and back into these players. So you can clearly see difference in numbers here in the graph. This will show you from 2005 all the way up until 2014, and this was the most up-to-date I could get on this graph. Moving on to who brings in all this money. So I do have a graph kind of dividing up how this money is brought in. As you can see, 81% of it is TV and marketing. 11% is based off championships, tickets, and merchandise. The remaining would be pretty much in investments and donation. So the athletic department is a huge reason why the NCAA brings in so much money. And the reason why is these star players that choose these schools. Once the TV deals see these high-end players sign with these schools, they are more willing to endorse them. However, the athletes themselves aren't allowed to receive any kind of endorsement deal, as well as not being able to make money off their own liking. So players like Zion Williamson in this past year's draft was a very hyped up player coming into this year's draft, and he wasn't able to make a single dollar off his name. No matter how famous he was at Duke and all that, it just doesn't make sense. For you to go in and day out and put in all that work for the school, and you saw the amount of money they were bringing in. For you as a player or even a student, both actually, a student and a player, it's gonna be a hard time trying to balance a wage and playing for the school as well as being a student. So it just does not make sense for the player to not be able to profit off his own liking. So where does all this money go? It is true that a lot of this money is refunded back into the program, providing scholarships for athletes, and we saw that 12 million number. So this is pretty much what it covers. The sport funding, the scholarships, but for each athlete, each school is only allowed 13 scholarships. So if you are offering 13 scholarships, where is the rest of this money going? So some risks these players are putting on the line by playing for free is career-ending injuries. They're pretty much risking their future if anything goes wrong at this time. They are, putting their time on the line. They are risking wages, their health, and possibly a career. Some of these players do get hurt in college or even in high school, which if you do get hurt in high school, your scholarship does get pulled from you. And if you do get hurt in college, your draft stock is more likely going to drop, which is going to cost you a lot of money. And I will be actually addressing that later on in this video. So actually, this is a real life scenario. This was Tua Tagovailoa. I'm not sure how to say the last name. I'm sorry about that, but we're just gonna roll with Tua. He was a 5-star draft prospect in this year's draft, and he did sustain a hip injury, which caused him to sit out the remaining of the year. He was predicted to be a #1 overall pick. However, when he did get injured, his draft stock dropped to a #5, and that did cost him $6 million, as well as his starting position. So now, since he is drafted onto the Miami Dolphins, he's going to have to work for a starting job. And then this is only one of many examples that these athletes may face. Tua was fortunate enough to still secure himself a spot in the NFL. But other players who aren't as famous, or I don't want to say talented is the word, lose that opportunity. And, with no money earning in college, what are these players supposed to depend on? So my argument would be, I just want you to picture yourself as a full-time student, managing a full-time job, being a college athlete. You are a very hard-working and dedicated person, and you are dedicating your whole time into this job, which is bringing in tons of money for your company, which is the NCAA, but still receive no wage for all that hard work you put in and day out. And your bosses or even people of higher position are soaking up all that money and profit off your back. Earning a job as a college athlete is out of the picture. How are you supposed to manage having a job, attending classes and being an athlete? It doesn't add up. $679 million is the amount of money the NCAA makes off the back of these athletes. So imagine all of that money being brought into the school, but you're still receiving none. Even if maybe they can, do a fund where after you graduate you have access to those funds. Any kind of wage just to help prepare them for the future in case anything goes wrong, like an injury or anything in general. These players should be paid for all that hard work they are putting in. And the amount of money the NCAA is bringing in is just, there's plenty of money to go around. The school, the players, the staff, as well as the sporting department itself. And the sad thing is that a lot of these coaches in college football, like Jim Harbaugh, are being paid top dollar to coach these athletes, but the athletes themselves are not making any money. So just let that sink in for a little bit. You might make an argument that these athletes do get priority treatment, scholarships, dorms, and some other perks at school. But a lot of that profit, like I did say earlier, a lot of the profit the NCAA is making is going back into the program, but it's just not enough to make up for the amount of work and hard time these players are putting in. In reality, these players are producing a lot more revenue than what is spent back into their scholarships, housing, and all the perks they may receive. So this remains to be an unfair topic that we sadly still have to discuss till this day. But the rise of other athletic programs like the G League and the NBA, who are offering college athletes wages to come in for a year, work out, pretty much play the game you love and still make money, while you are in a G League, which is the closest thing you can get to the NBA. So the G League is definitely putting the NCAA in check to make some adjustments to its rules and policies, because if they don't, the NCAA is going to be losing a lot of five-star players. So as a player, you have a couple routes to go. So like I said, the G League and other leagues across the world have started offering senior high school players the opportunity to make money while playing the sport they love. And the Euro Basketball League is one of them. The G League is one of them. There's a bunch of leagues across the world that will offer these high school players some type of money to go in and play. The G League, I believe myself, is going to be a huge issue for the NCAA, because a lot of these young athletes will want to go into the G League and make some type of money while playing with more experienced players, even ex-NBA players. So if the NCAA does not find a solution to this, I fear they will lose a lot of top recruit players nationwide. Because the majority of these athletes want to make it out to help their families as well as starting their careers. I'm pretty sure everyone, even myself, is planning for the future. So you need to have some type of backup plan to fall out onto. So here's another player, Jalen Green, which is a five-star recruit basketball player. He actually chose the G League over attending college for a contract worth $250,000 a year. So after that year, Jalen Green is actually eligible to enter the NBA draft, and his net worth will be $250,000 against not earning anything in college. So, that's definitely a route that a lot of these players are going to choose. So I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and I really hope that you listen to my side of the story, because a lot of these players are going to want to go into the G League if the NCAA does not solve this issue. And the NCAA is a very smart organization, and they're gonna have to make some checker moves to overcome this problem that they are facing now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and have a good night. Thank you so much for listening.